If I had to pick a word to describe Julie and Julia, the new film starring Meryl Streep and Amy Adams, it would have to be charming. And I say have to be because it really would have to be charming. There is no other word to describe this movie. It's not a perfect movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. It leans a little heavily towards the chick flick area of things, but it's a charming, delightful film. Meryl Streep is fantastic, as always, as Julia Child, the chef that changed the way America cooks, and Amy Adams is also quite good as the Julie of the title, who writes the blog about Julia Child that sparks this sort of dual storyline between the two characters. In terms of the Meryl Streep side of things, we get a nice traditional biopic of Julia Child, and it's very interesting. It's a cute story. Stanley Tucci is fantastic as Julia Child's doting husband, and the story of kind of how she got into cooking, how she became a published author, and how she became famous is very interesting. The Julie Powell storyline isn't quite as engaging, but it is pretty interesting on its own. I've heard some complaints from critics that the movie would have been better off if it was just the Meryl Streep half of the movie. I disagree. Julia Child is a character through and through, and sometimes that character can be a little bit much. If I had to sit through 2 hours of nothing but Meryl Streep playing Julia Child, I think I probably would not have enjoyed the movie nearly as much as I did. With Amy Adams' storyline in place to break things up and give the film a more modern perspective, I really enjoyed the dual storytelling, and every time the film switched, it was at a strategic point that kept me wondering what was going to happen next with the opposite character. So overall, it's a very enjoyable film. It skews towards the adults. I don't think that younger viewers will necessarily find much about the film to enjoy, although some of them might. But there's fantastic performances, a fun story, and it's just a fun, cute little movie. The Blu-ray of Julie and Julia presents a quite nice transfer, although this isn't really the type of film that offers up anything outside of the ordinary when it comes to a high-definition transfer. Although there is some very nice scenery, and the Blu-ray really captures the film quite beautifully. Colors are saturated well, but without looking unnatural. Imagery is crisp and clear. There's very little grain in the picture, and overall, it's really, really crisp and good looking transfer. The surround soundtrack doesn't do as much. There's not a movie that has a lot of action or a lot of surround sound. Occasionally it brings the hustle and bustle of Paris to life or some of the sounds from a kitchen, but for the most part this is a dialogue driven movie that's backed up by score music, and in that case the soundtrack represents well. In terms of extra features, you do get a handful of them, and most of them have to do with cooking. So you get a few making of featurettes, like secret ingredients, creating Julie and Julia. You also get a commentary with writer-director Nora Ephron. And then you get the Movie IQ feature, and this is Sony's kind of live connecting to the internet, giving you facts and trivia about the actors and the cast and the locations of the film. And this includes Julia Child's original recipes. Apparently you can collect and email them while watching the film. I did not try to email any recipes while I was watching the movie. In addition, exclusively on Blu-ray, you also get a Family and Friends Remember Julia Child featurette, a tour of Julia Child's kitchen, some cooking lessons featuring Julia Child and other world-renowned chefs, and of course you get the Movie IQ feature that's also exclusive only to Blu-ray. So in terms of Blu-ray versus DVD, the Blu-ray clearly outweighs the DVD in terms of extra features. Julie and Julia was a pretty good hit at the box office, proving once again that Meryl Streep really can bring people into the theaters, but a lot of that credit goes to director Nora Ephron, and a film that really is just a fun, enjoyable romp. There's nothing about this film that's controversial or edgy or in any way daring, but it's a very, very enjoyable way to spend 2 hours. So I give it my recommended stamp.